Today's lecture will be over Chapter 28, Section 3, Objectives. Number 1, examine the history of North Korea and South Korea. Number 2, identify other influences on Korean culture. Number 3, describe the effects of war and conflict on Korean life. And number 4, describe the economic and human resources of North Korea and South Korea. So we start off today looking at the map of the area that we're discussing. Again, we're looking at Russia, the former Soviet Union on the top here, Mongolia, China, all neighboring areas. We also have to make sure we talk about Japan, which we'll talk more about in Chapter 28, Section 4. But what we see is that North Korea is going to be connected literally to China. They share a border, but they also are going to be connected politically. South Korea is going to be a little bit more connected to the United States, and what we're going to see is that they're going to be connected also with Japan. So what we see is that the Manchurians, the Chinese, are going to migrate to this area that we're talking about. Chosen State are going to be here in about 2000 BC. Now Chankha conquers the northern peninsula around 100 BC. Korea is often going to be invaded by China and Japan kind of throughout their history. Korea regains their land, and they're going to form the three kingdoms in the late 300s. What we see is that then in about 660s, Silla is going to conquer Korea, and then you're going to see Yae Songgi in 1392 is going to basically kind of control, get rid of them. Now, Japan conquers Korea in 1910, rules until World War II defeat in 1945. So this area, again, is going to be invaded by its neighboring countries for quite some time. Now, after World War II, we're going to see kind of an important time in Korea's history. What we see is that North Korea and South Korea split, and North Korea is going to be controlled by the Soviet Union. South Korea is going to be kind of more the United States aided. And what we see is that in 1950, North Korea is going to invade South Korea and begins Korean War. Now, the basis of this war is very simple. Harry Truman creates what's known as the Truman Doctrine, and this says that the United States is going to stop the spread of communism. If a country is communist, the United States isn't going to force them to change. But if a communist country tries to invade a neighboring area and try to make them communist, that's when the United States steps in. So in the United States, we go ahead and we basically are going to force the North Koreans out of South Korea. If you kind of know your American history, this is where a general by the name of Douglas MacArthur is going to be forced to the north, and he's basically going to lose his job because he goes into China. But 1953, the treaty ends the war, and the peninsula is going to be divided. North Korea becomes a communist state. South Korea is democracy. The two nations do remain hostile. Now, in around 2000, reunification discussions had begun. Currently, right now, that's probably the furthest thing from anybody's mind right now because of some things that are going on. But reunification was a discussion, but now it's not. Now, the Chinese influence, Korea adopts many of the philosophical, religious aspects of China. Confucianism, Buddhism, all of those are going to influence this area. Communism does mold North Korea, where South Korea is going to be molded a little bit more by Western culture. Northern Korea governments are going to allow communism, and folk art. South Korea artists are going to have much more freedom of expression and basically able to kind of do what they want to do. An armed society, both North Korea and South Korea are going to build huge armies after World War II because, of course, they didn't know if the world was going to go into another World War III with communism maybe being kind of the hotbed topic with the Cold Wars. But danger of war always is looming away. About 2 million soldiers and troops on both sides of the borders are going to kind of be around. Now, in the 2000 summit, what we see is leaders declare an intent to reduce tensions. They plan to clear mines, rebuild rail links, allow cross-border visits. It goes so far as that in the 2000 Summer Olympics, the two Koreas are going to march under a single flag. It's kind of interesting now, back in 2017, 2018, we see them drifting further and further apart because of some missiles and things like that. But at one time, there was talk about reunification. Now, the economies are a little bit different too. If there was a united Korea, what we'd see is North Korea is going to have a lot of natural resources, and the South is going to have industries. South Korea, though, is what we call an economic tiger. They're very successful, a competitive economy. They're really pushing exports and trying to bring in as much money as possible, where North Korea is a little bit more kind kind of non-industrial. Now, most of the people living on the coastal plains are in the river valleys. South Korea has 45% of the peninsula's land, 66% of the population. The South's largest city is going to be Seoul with a population of about 10 million. North is going to be Pyongyang, which is a population of about 2.5 million. This completes our lecture over 28.3. Please complete your assessments at this time.